Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Alison Agnello, and I'll be the MC for today's session titled Why You Should Write on the EA Forum. Our speakers today are Sarah Cheng and Toby Tremlett. Sarah is now the interim EA Forum project lead after working as a software engineer on the Center for Effective Altruism's online team for 3 years. Previously, she worked at Care.com and then Better Lesson, supporting educators across the US. Toby runs the EA newsletter, the non-engineering side of the EA forum, and facilitates a range of other content projects. Before starting at CEA, he worked as a research assistant for Richard Fisher's book, The Long View, and, amongst other things, as a writer. Following Sarah and Toby's presentation, we'll have time for Q&A, where they will respond to your questions. You can submit them through the Swap Cards live discussion feature. There will not be office hours after this talk, so if you have a specific question in mind, this is your chance. So now I would like to bring on our speakers, Sarah Cheng and Toby Tremlett.
All right, thanks, Allison. Welcome, everyone. I want to start off the presentation today with our core message, which is if you found this conference to be valuable, or if you found a way to provide value to somebody else here, then you already know why writing on the Effective Altruism Forum is valuable. You're at this conference because you care about doing good better, just like everyone else here does. Effective altruism is a collective project to improve the world. And if you'd like to contribute to that project, one of the best ways of doing that is writing on the forum. Just like with EAGxVirtual, the forum is a community space accessible to people around the world, and in particular, to those who don't have a local EA community near them. The forum is where the global community lives outside of conferences. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the forum, here's what the front page looks like. The forum is a website, which is an online discussion space, and it's one of the most important EA community spaces. Why is that? Well, one way to think about effective altruism is as an interdisciplinary field. People who have expertise in different areas, who have a variety of interests and perspectives and backgrounds, all come together to collaboratively make progress on a question which we all think is really important. How can we do the most good with the resources we have? One of the best ways to contribute to this collective knowledge is by writing on the forum. But it's not just that. For many people, the forum is their primary way of engaging with EA. So this space provides a valuable service, helping people stay connected and stay motivated to keep trying to do good better. In the same way, you've probably felt motivated being here in this conference. It's where you can talk to, learn from, and change the opinions of the EA community.
And I'm just going to show you a little bit of, we're going to be talking about posts, quick takes, comments, a few things which are kind of forum terms of art. So I'm just going to point to some of these things now so that you know what we're talking about if you haven't seen the forum before. This is a bit harder in 2D, by the way. So I'm pointing this way. Yeah. So if you look like down here, you can see the posts. These are the long oblongs in the middle with titles. On the left-hand side of them, there are numbers with an arrow above them, and that's karma. So that's a way of trying to highlight the best content on the forum, or the content that the most people in EA should see or would benefit from. Below here, we can't scroll right now, but below these posts is where you would see the community section where people post things where they talk about goings on in the EA community, things that wouldn't be interesting to somebody who wasn't part of the EA community, but still cared about doing good in the world. And below that, you get quick takes, which we're going to talk about a bit later, which is kind of like the EA forums version of Twitter. You get to write draftier things and write them a bit faster. Yeah, and as you can see, there are, I keep thinking I can point, I can't point. There are little comment logos at the end of the posts, and that shows that there's like conversations going on under the post. We're going to talk about comments quite a bit too, because comments are a very important part of contributing to the forum.
Nice. Okay, so that gives you a sense of what the site looks like, but what does it feel like to be there? Well, you can think of the forum as a way to put EA principles into practice. So for example, people talk about prioritizing between different causes. People focus attention on topics that they think are most important. People talk about impartial altruism, giving everyone's interests equal consideration, including giving focus on groups that are most neglected because they have the least ability to advocate for themselves. There's open truth seeking. People are curious, open-minded. We encourage people to seriously reflect on their beliefs and why they have those beliefs, and then also be willing to change your mind in the face of new information. And finally, maybe the most obvious one around the forum is the collaborative spirit. Basically, as people who care about EA, we can achieve more by working together and thinking about ourselves as a team. So being on the forum, we can coordinate with each other, we can learn from each other and build upon common knowledge as a team.
And yeah, I just want to say that we're going to be talking about writing quite a lot in this presentation, and it is called Why You Should Write on the Forum. But there are also many ways to be an important part of the forum which do not involve writing. That's a fly. So so firstly, the forum is not the forum without any of these three pillars. So you can read posts, learn from them, and vote on them if you think that they're relevant to more people on the EA forum. So you can give them karma, which, yeah, as I pointed out before on the homepage, means they go a bit higher up so more people see them. Or you could take karma away if you think that people might not find them as valuable, if they're not as well suited for the EA forum. So this is really important. And without an audience, nobody would post. So we really want people to read. If you're not ready to write anything, don't worry, you can still be a really important part of the forum. The next kind of step up from that in involvement is commenting or writing quick takes. So lots of the interesting discussion that happens on the forum, lots of the times that people change their minds and learn something is happening in the comments and the discussion that happens under the posts. There are some forum authors who I think of as extremely valuable authors who've had loads of people reading their work over the years, and they've basically just commented. They've rarely posted at all. Commenting can be extremely valuable. Quick takes, as I mentioned, the kind of EA forums version of Twitter or something. If you have an idea that is not ready to be a full post that you want to write up very carefully, you can just send out a very quick version of it as a quick take. Yeah, so that's something to consider if you've had some ideas at this conference, if you've met some people. We'll talk about some ideas later, but yeah, that's something to think about. And then finally, posting. The forum obviously wouldn't be the forum without people writing posts. This is what you see when you come onto the front page. This is a big tool for like changing people's minds and teaching them something, asking yourself questions. We're going to be talking about posts a lot more later. But yeah, I just wanted to underline this fact that you don't have to be someone who's very comfortable writing long posts in order to be a very valuable part of the forum community. So some people that I've talked to who don't know very much about the forum, but are interested in joining, they have an idea of what a forum post might look like, because maybe they've seen a couple. And yeah, there are some forum posts which are like full-on academic reports or chapters almost. They're something that's, would take you an hour to read, really, really carefully written. There are also really valuable forum posts which link an article from somewhere else on the internet, include a paragraph explaining why they think the article is relevant to people on the EA forum, and that's the post. And there's everything in between these two formats is very welcome. So you can write essays, you can write things, you can write about your opinions on a topic, as long as you explain where your opinions come from. You can summarize a book, research. You can link to videos, podcasts, anything that you've found valuable that you think other people in EA would find valuable. So there is no one model of what a forum post looks like. There is no one format. There are norms that we'll talk about later, but there's no such thing as like a forum post word count or forum post phrases that you have to use or something.
Nice. Okay, so why should you write on the EA forum? Well, at this conference, have you been sharing ideas with people, getting feedback, refining your plans? Have you met interesting people, been inspired or inspired somebody else. Generally, if you found EAGx valuable, if you've like met people, discovered opportunities, or learned about organizations doing cool work, you can do all of that on the forum between conferences.
Yeah, so just a little bit more about why the forum can be valuable to different audiences. So that there's a little bit of a different way of explaining this for organizations and individuals. So I'm just going to do organizations first. If you're an organization, writing on the forum is a great way to meet this community of people who's dedicated to doing good and doing good in the best way that they can. They're an audience who is very ready to be interested and engage like critically and supportively with your projects and with your content. So yeah, I've just got one example here of an organization that recently got some value from the forum. So the Humane League UK was doing this this campaign, this legal campaign, where they're trying to ban Franken chickens in the UK, is what they're calling it, these fast-growing breeds of chickens. They posted on the EA forum because they needed some money last minute in order to have this legal campaign go through. And within a few days, the EA forum had I think 5 users on the EA forum had donated quite a sizable amount of money, which helped them do this campaign. So this was really important for them when they needed help. And this is partly because the Humane League UK has been engaging with the forum for a long time in different ways. So people are familiar with them, they understand their work, and they're already bought into them. So yeah, this was really valuable for them. And then later on, Molly from the Humane League, she posted this this post explaining a little bit more the legal campaign, and people were they really celebrated it. Because again, they've because of previous posts on the forum and this post, I guess the main point is that there's this audience of people on the forum who's extremely interested in stuff like this. So if you are an organization that's somewhere in the EA-ish ecosystem, this is an audience who's going to be very interested in your work, and it can lead to great deals of support, both financial, and if you want people to, write letters to people, or yeah, there are all sorts of support that you can get through the forum.
Nice. But assuming that you're not an organization, what do you as an individual get from writing on the forum? Here are a few of the reasons. So one thing is that the EA community is actually relatively small. I think there are about 1,000 people-ish at this conference, and the forum is actually not very much bigger than that. So if you write, you can very easily develop a reputation. This can help you passively discover opportunities to do good, which is basically one of my favorite reasons. Like if you write on the forum, people can reach out to you, tell you about job opportunities that could be relevant to you. We know from user surveys that people have gotten jobs this way. We know that people get offered one-off projects based on the interest that they show on the forum, or sometimes people will reach out about donation opportunities that are non-public based on people's interests. Another way of thinking about the writing on the forum is as a sort of group blog as a combination with Twitter. And so posting can help you reach this like-minded audience who can provide valuable feedback, including positive reinforcement. Additionally, by writing on the forum, you can practice using the tools that make EA special. As I mentioned before, the EA principles such as open truth seeking, prioritizing how we spend our resources, communicating collaboratively and kindly. We think that getting this practice is really important to actually do good. And finally, it's just fun to connect with people who are like-minded, people who are passionate about doing good, people who can inspire and motivate you to do better.
Yeah, and there's just a couple more things to round this out. The EA forum is also the best place where you can reach the whole EA community. So as Sarah alluded to, the EA community is not that large. And actually, a very sizable portion of them do visit the forum. or like, and basically everybody is going to have friends who do. So if you need to reach the whole EA community with an idea or an opportunity, the EA forum is a brilliant place to go to share your ideas. There have been many times as well when posts and comments have changed priorities of the EA movement as a whole or specific organizations. So this is another reason another way that you can use the forum to have an impact. Just by visiting and reading the forum, you can find times and opportunities where your opinions and your analysis can actually shift somebody else's opinion, including quite powerful organizations. And of course, you can inspire other people to take action. So if you have an idea for what you want to do with your own life, if you're committed to a particular path, or you think a particular cause is really important, you can make that case to other people. And this, again, is an audience who will, they'll ask questions of you. They'll make sure that they agree with you. But if they do, then you can easily inspire them to join you. So yeah, I think there's a lot about the forum that's really special. Yeah, so this is just one little story that we got recently in the forum survey. And you can see it here, but it's a story of somebody who they were applying for a job at an organization, and they wrote a post about a topic that was relevant to the organization in order to show that they were interested. They didn't get the job, but someone from another organization reached out to them because of the post and asked them to apply for a position there, and they got the job. So this is what Sarah was referring to when she was talking about these like passively inviting opportunities. Just by putting yourself out there and getting a reputation as somebody who thinks carefully about these topics can be enough for people to reach out to you, because really the EA movement's not that big. A lot of the things that we think about in the EA movement, there's not that many people in the world thinking about them. So you can get to the front of a relatively small field quite fast on the forum. So yeah, that's another thing to think about. Just wanted to briefly say that we think that writing on the EA forum is really valuable for a lot of people, but what we ultimately care about is impact in the world. We don't care about impact through the forum exclusively. So for some people, the forum might not be the best place for them. Perhaps the idea of focusing on, perhaps you overly focus on reputation or gaining karma, that might not be valuable to you. Or for some people, the forum can trade off with their work time. Perhaps we've made it a bit too fun for you to be on the forum. And if in that case, then perhaps you don't want to be as much a part of the forum. And these are perfectly valid choices. Yeah, so I think if some of you now are thinking that you might want to write on the forum, I just wanted to kind of briefly let you know what you should expect when you do. So the headline thing for me is that people on the forum actually read and respond to you. And that sounds like something that's quite obvious, that is likely to happen anywhere, but I think it's actually one of the things that makes the forum quite unique. So for me, for example, I've, on this idea of people actually read what you write, I've been trying to write in various places on the internet for years. This is a picture of a post that I published in February this year. When I posted it on my Substack, which I'd had going for a couple of years and had like some subscribers on, it got 100 views. Now, that's better than it was when I was posting on WordPress, but it really wasn't a lot of people. Whereas on the forum, I worked this out and I got a combined like 60 hours of reading time, I think. And that's people reading the post, not just viewing it. I think this is because the forum is, as Sarah mentioned earlier, actually, it can be thought of kind of as a group blog. There's people who've been posting really valuable stuff on the forum for years. They've built up an audience who is interested in these topics. And the beautiful thing with the forum is that all of us have access to that audience. all of us can also write things that bring in more people who benefit the other people on the forum. So it's a virtuous cycle. It's not just you getting something for free. You are benefiting everybody else. But this is the first place that I found where you can really find this audience who will engage with this kind of thinking. So yeah, I think that's an extremely exciting part of the forum, that people will actually read what you do. But also people will actually respond to you. So this is one of the first things that I wrote on the forum, the vegan value asymmetry and its consequences. This took me probably like 20 minutes to write after I had this idea. I just wrote it, put it on the forum, tried not to think about it. And I just started to get these responses on it, which kind of gently pointed out some issues, asked some questions. People in the comments then responded very helpfully to those questions, showing that they had a little bit more knowledge of the topic than me and maybe understanding the viewpoint I was trying to inhabit better than I did. I found that a little bit intimidating, and I removed this and removed it to my draft folder. I think this was a little bit of a mistake now because, I look back on these comments and I think it was a valuable conversation that was happening underneath the post. So there's a couple points that I want to take from this. One of them is that people actually respond to you on the forum. I found this scary when I first joined, so it's something to expect. I think the responses are generally, and we're going to talk about norms and moderation and stuff in a minute because we're careful to maintain this, are generally really positive and supportive if people do respond, especially if somebody is new to the forum. But still, that's quite surprising because everywhere else I posted before this, people would just see like one word in the title. Like the comments I'd get if I posted this somewhere else on the internet, they'd see the word vegan and they'd start arguing against vegans, or they'd start being like, I love animals or something. You wouldn't get anything relevant. You wouldn't get people who understand your own ideas better than you. So this is something that can be a bit intimidating, but I also think is extremely unique and valuable. So I would highly recommend taking advantage of it. Yeah, so I've mentioned these forum norms. These are all very important for us to be able to understand each other on the forum, and kind of set some ground rules so that people can share their ideas in an environment that they feel is safe and understanding. So and to be clear, norms, these are things which they're sometimes connected to rules that we enforce, but they're also just things that we try to encourage with our comments and the way that we engage on the forum. Like I'm part of the moderation team, so is Sarah. So we try and enforce these things in like softer ways as well as sometimes using moderation more directly. But yeah, so the first thing is scout mindset. So it's important. This is a term from Julia Galef's book, Scout Mindset, and it is opposed to the mindset of a soldier. So the scout is going out and trying to find the truth. They're not stuck in any one position. The soldier is fixed in one spot and tries to defend it. So the idea here is that we're all trying to find the right answers. This is really important to us we all ultimately want to do good, and we don't want to be making mistakes that stop us doing that. This means that everybody kind of tries to treat each other as if they're ready to change their minds, and tries to write their posts as if they're willing to change their minds, which I think is really valuable. Similarly, also helpful for changing minds is reasoning transparency. So this means if you're giving an opinion, you're going to want to explain how you got to that opinion so people can respond. This means that if you just state an opinion, it's really hard for people to respond in a way that could potentially change your mind. They can just disagree with the thing out of hand. But if you give an argument, if you give reasons, then they might be able to give you facts which might influence some of those reasons. So they might be able to engage at some other part where you feel less strongly about the opinion. So this is something that we aim to do when we're having discussions on the forum. Speaking of discussions, we do expect and value disagreement. When people disagree, that's how they change their minds, that's how they learn. But it's important alongside this to be kind, generous, and charitable, to make sure that people are really trying to understand each other. Because otherwise you get disagreements that anger people and don't teach any of them anything. So that's not really, why I turn up to my job, to make that happen. So yeah, I think the forum is I think it's often a wonderfully kind and supportive place, and charitable. So I want to maintain that. I want to make sure that keeps happening. But yeah, people do often respond with critiques if they disagree, because again, they care about reaching the truth. They assume that you care about reaching the truth and that you're not just trying to kind of influence people to do something. So it's really important to keep in mind here that critique is not personal. It is about trying to reach, you're trying to reach the same point together. The forum audience really cares about truth. So they're not trying to target you, they're trying to discuss those ideas. But that doesn't mean that people can be rude to you. It's another fly, sorry, there's loads of these. It's really important. We have these strong forum norms around commenting and posting in ways that are on topic. So on the topic of trying to do good, better, and not rude. This is most of the times when we've stepped in as moderators, most of the times that I've done so, I think are, when somebody is being rude, when somebody has gone past a sensible line of disagreement. We think that's a really important line to keep, because so much the value of the forum is from discussion. If people don't want to discuss, if they don't want to have discussions with people because they're worried they're going to be rude to them, that really hurts the value of the whole thing. So we really care about this. I mentioned karma earlier as well. So karma, you can upvote something and move it up the page, or you can downvote something where you're kind of saying that less people on the forum should spend their time reading it. This may happen to you as well if you're first writing on the forum. This is also one of the things that happened when I posted my post, and one of the reasons that I took it away. And I still think I was incorrect to do that, even with some downvotes. Often a downvote is saying that writing isn't in line with some forum norm, or it's not focused on one of the topics that the forum is focused on. And as a new writer on the forum, it just makes sense to not be super familiar with either of those things. You're probably lacking some context in either the norms or the topics that EA forum focuses on. That's nothing personal. That's nothing wrong with you. It's also nothing wrong with your post. I've seen some really good, really well-written and interesting posts that I would have read somewhere else, that get downvoted on the forum. Also, most of the stuff I read on the internet, if it was posted on the forum, I would downvote it, because we're not talking about what is the best quality thing. We're talking about what suits the EA forum and the kind of conversations that we're planning to have on this website. So again, if you're posting something and you get some critique or you get some downvotes, neither of those things, I hope, should be a reason for you not to be posting in the future. They're important parts of the forum. They're ways we learn, they're ways we choose what to read, but they don't reflect on you as an individual if this does happen. So thank you for listening to this presentation. We'll get into the questions in a second. Just wanted to underline that engaging with the EA forum, we think it's valuable for you. We think people can get opportunities, they can learn things, they can change their mind. It's also really valuable for the community. You bring readers to other people if you write something interesting. You help them learn things. You might make connections between people. There's loads of ways that you can help. You don't have to be a poster in order to contribute. We'd love you all to write. We'd love to have more writing, great content on the forum. But even if you're not comfortable with that and you just want to read and you want to vote, maybe occasionally comment, this is extremely valuable too. If after this you're interested in posting, but you're in some doubt about your first post, you can contact us, me or Sarah. I'll put our information up on the next slide. You can message us on the forum. I'm personally very willing to have a look at your draft and let you know kind of how the forum might respond to it, or perhaps if you might want to rephrase anything to fit within forum norms. I've been familiar with this for a while, so I can give that kind of feedback if that would be valuable to you. But also, you really don't need to. You don't need anyone's permission to write on the forum. I realize that says position. Yeah, you don't need anyone's permission to write on the forum. It's completely up to you. Oh, and this is, maybe I'll send this after. I just put this slide in today. These are just some general ideas of things that you can, ways to kind of elicit ideas for posts. If you'd like to post, but you don't think you have any ideas. So one of the things that I feel like almost everybody could do is think of an article, podcast episode, or a video you've recommended to people in the EA movement before. If you think that was a good recommendation, then share it with more people on the EA forum. You probably learned something at this EAG. If you have, perhaps you want to share that maybe as a quick take, maybe as a post if it's more valuable to you. Great. Well, yeah, we're not doing office hours as this slide says, but we are doing Q&As now. But these are our accounts on the forum if you'd like to message us to ask silly questions.
Thank you so much, Toby and Sarah. I think that all of the material you presented was super valuable. And if anything, I think it's the perfect way to end EAGxVirtual. I'm hoping that everything that we learned, we're able to take that, think about it, and hopefully contribute to the EA forum. We're going to get started with some of the questions here for everyone. Sorry, for everyone in the audience. I am asking questions from the questions tab in Swap Card. You can use the live interaction feature to find it. I'm reading ones that have the most upvotes first. So similar to the EA forum, if you think that we should focus on anything, please upvote it. The first question is about if EA forum posts should be written either under your real name or a pseudonym. Because pseudonyms, yes, they can offer protection, but they're not giving you credit in your field, while real names, they connect it to your reputation. So there's like a risk inherent in that. What do you guys recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have, yeah, sorry, there's two of us. It's tricky to see if Sarah has if Sarah has an opinion, please share it after this, but yeah, I think this really depends on you and your own kind of calculus and the kind of things that you want to share or something. I don't know what the whole team's opinion is, but I think at the moment, the forum is mostly people who are sharing their names and their identities. So I don't think there'd be a big problem with having more anonymous accounts at the margins. If there's things, yeah, it's tricky. I think it just really depends on you as a person. What's going to lead to you producing better and more interesting content. But also, yeah, your considerations around reputation, because you're right, it's very hard to grow a reputation around a kind of anonymous tag. So it depends what you're looking for from the forum.
Is it about the person themselves, or is it about their situation? I'll give that to Sarah.
Yeah, I guess I would say it's mostly the situation. I can think there are some specific situations in which you may be like concerned about your reputation. Like this is a public forum, maybe something to keep in mind is that the forum is default public, and we think this is really valuable to create a space that's accessible to people. But this also means that if somebody's Googling your name, then this might show up. So depending on the kinds of things you write, you might want to be thoughtful about that. Yeah, I think in my personal opinion, in general, people overrate the like reputation risks and don't really think enough about the reputation benefits. Like we've shown in the presentation, we have seen in survey results, like people actually build a network by writing on the forum. People learn about their names, people reach out with job opportunities, people, when they go to conferences, they recognize the names of authors. There's actually a lot of value in having your name be recognized and known in the community. Yeah, so just want to give that pitch.
Thank you. The next question, someone is saying that they're part of the EA Anywhere Slack community, and they're wondering whether there are certain use cases that are better for posting on the EA forum versus Slack, and if you have any thoughts on the differences.
I guess I don't personally use the EA Anywhere Slack very much. I used it when I did the virtual program, but outside of that, I just haven't used it very much. I guess it's probably more appropriate for like casual conversations. It's also, yeah, I'm just like not actually sure who uses that Slack, so hard to say.
Yeah, I think I've looked at the Slack a little bit recently, and I think it's a place where it's you can share things that are a bit more like quick takes maybe, and you can ask people for help with specific projects. I think the EA forum often has can have livelier comments sometimes. Also, obviously you can put posts up there, which you can't really do on the Slack. I mean, you'd have to like link an article, and that is going to make it more unlikely that people are going to look at it. Yeah, so I think discussion is probably a bit better on the EA forum. There's also more moderation and norms, which I think can, yeah, again, be really valuable for having like useful conversations. But yeah, I mean, I think the EA Anywhere is also a really valuable resource, and it's like it's very wide and it's got a lot of people on it, so it's also a good place to make connections. But if you want to share your ideas in more detail and maybe talk to people in more detail, I think the EA forum is probably the place to go. But yeah, I can imagine using both.
Thank you. Next question. Are there any particular kinds of EA-related posts that aren't welcome in the forum? This person in particular is wondering if requests for individual career advice are welcome. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that aren't welcome, but
yeah, that's interesting. I think I've seen people asking for individual career advice and getting helpful feedback. I think I've also sometimes seen people asking for individual career advice and not given much information for people to really engage with them on. And I think I don't think there's like a precise like effort bar to something that's going to be valuable on the forum. Sometimes there can be really low effort ways of asking very valuable questions that kick off good discussions and stuff. But I think if you're asking somebody to engage with thinking about something that's going to be very contextual to you, it could be good to just like explain more of your circumstance in a way that lets people kind of latch on to different aspects of it that they might have experience with. So I think this question wouldn't be an unreasonable thing to ask on the EA forum. There will be people there who could give you advice. But yeah, you'd probably want to do more than just kind of just asking the question, you know, I am a student in this, and what should I do with my life? I think people might have opinions, but they won't be as like tailored to you. But yeah, people can get like really in depth once you give more information. And again, if there's something like this, if you have any questions that are specific like this, like should I post this kind of thing or how should I phrase it? Please just message me on the forum. I'm very willing to give you feedback or just encouragement. Yeah.
thank you. That's good advice. How should users use the people directory on the forum? And is it appropriate to email individuals listed there to inquire about potential collaborations?
Good question. Yeah, that's a pretty recent feature that we've added. So it's still a bit in beta. If you see any issues, definitely let us know. Yeah, we do encourage people to use it for like a wide variety of use cases. Anytime you want to connect with people, maybe you're looking for specific expertise or looking for somebody to help you with a project, looking for somebody who lives in your area. There's like a lot of ways that you can use it to connect with other people who are interested in doing good. I think so. The way that you connect with other people is through messaging on the forum. And I think that's very reasonable for you to like reach out to somebody who you think could be interested in collaborating on a project. And they're welcome to respond or ignore if they are too busy. So I think that's very reasonable.
As a quick example, I trialed by messaging 5 people who posted in open threads to invite them to the conference, and I've seen some of them here. So it definitely works, and if you're watching this right now, I'm so glad you came.
It's great to hear. That's really great to hear.
Next, this is more of a specific question. This person has a post draft about a potential idea for setting up an EA entrepreneurship community, but they imagine that the post will only really need to be a few lines. How can that be communicated effectively? And if you have any tips for them, besides emailing you, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, definitely do send me a message on the forum if you'd like me to review something. Yeah, I'd imagine if you're... Yeah, it's difficult. I wonder if there's... Yeah, I think the best thing to do for something like that is most likely to write this as a quick take, and to ask if anybody kind of have like a clear call to action, which is, join this Slack, or, message a friend if you think they might be interested or something. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you have specific questions about a particular draft.
Someone mentioned that the EA Forum has a policy since 2022 that all new posts are licensed under the Creative Commons BY. Has your forum team evaluated the impact of this move?
Not to my knowledge.
Has
Yeah.
anyone emailed you about it?
We've gotten some feedback about it, but I have not personally been the one to engage with that feedback. Sorry, I don't think I can say anything helpful. I'm not really an expert in that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair thing to bring up, though. It's something that we should make sure that there aren't people who are not able to post because of this, for example. But yeah, I definitely haven't seen. I've been here for a year, but I haven't seen any complaints about that over this year. Does not mean they don't exist, but no one has particularly told me that this has been a problem for them.
Fair enough. So just a quick note to the audience, we have 5 minutes remaining, so if you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Looking through, someone had mentioned how it can feel almost intimidating to post. What are some ways that people can gain confidence?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question. And as I said earlier, like I really understand that feeling. I felt this before. So I think some things you can do before posting is you can engage in commenting a little bit. So I found this a good way to start being a little bit more active on the forum. If you read a post which is interesting to you and like closer to maybe something that you're more interested in, that you've heard more about, you might be able to ask the author like a really good question or something, or you might be able to have an opinion about like an alternative way that they could have made an argument or something. Yeah, I think starting with commenting is a nice way to build up something for a little bit of a feeling of like how people react on the forum, the kind of things that they want to see. Another thing, again, is message me and I can like encourage you. So maybe that would build confidence. I don't know. We could try. But yeah, also like writing quick takes if if you've got a short idea, quick takes are really, I feel like quick takes are really forgiving. There's not like, if people aren't interested in a quick take, it is unlikely to get much response. It's not quite like, yeah, I think it's quite a nice place to like try out an idea if you have something that you could maybe write into a full post later, when you're feeling a bit more confident with it.
One small thing I'll add is we also have an open thread at the top of the forum that's sticky. People use that to introduce themselves. I think that's a pretty easy way to like get comfortable writing. People are normally very supportive and just like generally introduce yourself to the community.
I'll put that in the chat for folks. It looks, Toby, like you will have someone send some drafts to you. So it looks like that worked. We have another
Fantastic.
question. Another question. What are some types of posts that you'd like to see more of from individuals?
Interesting. Yeah. I think I would like to see more expertise from people outside the community. This is like something I'm personally get excited about is like people who have expertise. You know, it could be like any skill set. Like we've had people who are software engineers write about their jobs. We've had people who worked in nonprofits write about their experiences. We've had people even like who have been doing effective giving for a long time talk about how they think about cause prioritization and like saving money. There's a lot of like personal stories that I think really resonate with people and inspire people. Like if you read a story about somebody who's been like saving money to like donate to this cause or this other cause, it can like really show people that they can also make a difference.
Yeah, I think a kind of a mini version of this as well. You can get kind of mini expertise by like reading a book that's relevant. And I just don't think I've seen many book reviews, honestly. And I think, sharing the lessons that you learned from a book is great because if there are lessons that you think are relevant to people in the effective altruism community, this might be a way for them to just learn those lessons a lot faster, you sharing them. So I think that's like just one idea for something that like I think a lot of people could do if they were interested in writing a post.
Fantastic. Well, Toby, Sarah, thank you guys both for spending your day with us here on Sunday. Just wanted to let everyone know that we have an EAGxVirtual 2024 discussion thread. So if you want to gain confidence, if you want to trial this out, we'll share the link. You're welcome to give that a try. And then after the session ends, we have a closing talk. It'll just be 30 minutes, and then we will be hanging out in Gathertown afterwards. So again, thank you, Sarah, Toby. We'll see you later.